Welcome back, everyone, for another live stream. Tonight, we're going to be discussing altars and personal practices. Now, the first question that a lot of people ask me when they join our Discord server is basically how to set up an altar. And the simple answer is you set it up however you want. There is no right way or wrong way in which you can set up an altar. An altar is a very personal thing for you. It is a representation of your personal beliefs, your personal journey within the faith. There is no set items in which you are required to have on your altar. There is no set a number of items or set size or anything like that. Like I said, altars can be very individual to each and every person, and they represent the personality of the person that creates it. Your altar could be something that is very simple, doesn't have a lot of stuff on it, maybe only has one or two idols. Maybe your altar is as full as mine is right here. Maybe your altar is even more full. Maybe you have more stuff than I do. But the thing is, like I said, it doesn't matter what exactly you put on there. So long as you believe that it is something that ties to your faith and helps you to represent your belief, helps you to represent your path along this faith. Now, some of the things that are common amongst altars are candles or crystals, rocks of all sorts. Sometimes you'll see a lot of people will have various altars to different gods. Some might have one, some might have a dozen. It all just depends on the individual person. Now, for me personally, I have quite a lot of stuff on here. I have bones on there. I have crystals. I have fossils, rocks that I have collected along my journeys, along the times that I have gone and hiked through the woods. If I find something when I am trying to connect with the gods or connect with the spirits, the land, the ancestors, and that item calls out to me, I will generally bring it home to place on my altar. Or if not on my altar here at home, I take it to the shrine that I erected near my home out in some woods out by a canal. And a lot of the times, these items hold a sentimental value to me. And it's that sentimentality of those objects that I believe is what really makes them worthy of being placed upon an altar. It is because they mean something to you. Doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else. But as long as it means something to you, then I say, go for it. Put it on your altar. Put it on your outdoor shrine. Do with it whatever you wish. For as long as I have been a pagan, I have only actually had an altar for I would say the last 5 or 6 years, about 6 years. Because before that, I had not lived in an area where I felt comfortable having an altar in my home. Whether it was because I was sharing a home with parents, my siblings, aunts and uncles, whoever I was living with. It was only until I had actually moved out on my own and been living by myself, well, not by myself, but with my spouse, that I felt comfortable having an altar in my home. And over the years, my altar has changed. It has grown. It has evolved with time. And that's something that will happen with each and every one of your altars. They won't be a static object. They won't remain the same for as long as you have them. Over time, you'll add more to it. You might take some things away because they no longer represent something that you feel should be represented upon your altar. And that is perfectly fine. Because ultimately, like I said, it is all about what you believe should be on your altar. If you want to put idols from various faiths upon your altar, go for it, because it is your altar. It is your place to worship the gods that you choose, the place where you go to worship the spirits or the ancestors. Now, some common objects that you might find upon an altar, like I said, besides like the crystals or rocks or bones, might be something like this. This is a little offering bowl. Mine's made out of copper and has Yggdrasil on it. I use this for liquid offerings. Anytime I'm giving mead or another beverage of some kind to the gods, spirits, or ancestors, I use this little bowl to hold it. If I'm doing a food offering, like fruit or vegetables, I have this little Viking ship that I place them in. This was a gift from my girl's mother, and it came all the way here from Iceland. I love this thing. It is a great little holder for food objects. Now, you'll also find, like I said, candles or even incense upon most people's altars. Now, the candles, you could use a candle as an offering or as an ambiance to enhance the mood when you are sitting at your altar and praying or meditating, trying to connect with the gods or spirits or the ancestors. Hello to everybody that has recently joined. Glad to see you guys all here. You'll notice that on the wall behind me, I have a Metatron's cube. Personally, I feel that that just signifies for me the interconnectedness of everything within the universe. So I keep it there behind my altar. I have upon my altar collections of bones gathered when camping with fellow pagans. I have crystals that I have also found while camping with fellow pagans. Now, I typically, upon my altar, will burn a candle for any god that I happen to be praying to or trying to connect with. If I'm trying to connect with the spirits or the ancestors, I'll burn a candle for them. But just because I burn a candle doesn't mean that you have to. Now, individual practice can be very different for each person. Some people may pray at their altar or meditate in front of it every single day. Personally, I do not. However, I try to whenever I feel the call to do so or feel a need to do so, which sometimes happens more often, sometimes less often. But again, it's about whatever feels right to you. Excuse me, throat's getting dry. Now, this faith has no set canon. It has no set rigid belief system. There is no right way, no wrong way to practice this faith. So when it comes to a daily practice or personal practice, as I've said before, it's all about what feels right to you. You don't have to sit in front of your altar and pray every day. Hell, you don't even need to have an altar if you don't want one. I know plenty of pagans who do not have altars. Some because they are not living somewhere where they feel comfortable having one. Others who just never felt the need to create one. I know pagans who have no altar in their home, but might have one outside their home. Where you create your altar is all about where you feel the best connection to the gods or the spirits, the ancestors, to your family. Whether you worship by yourself or you Practice with other pagans is up to you. You do not need to feel like every time that you go to pray at your altar or a shrine that you have to go with a group of people. You could go by yourself. Oh, you don't even need to go if you don't want to. I know that there are pagans out there who recite prayers daily. I don't feel like that is necessary. As it says in the Havamal, it is better to give a little than to give too much. And I take that, for me personally, to mean that it is better to give smaller offerings when you feel the need to do so versus doing big offerings all the time. You don't need to go out and spend $100 on a bottle of liquor and use that whole bottle of liquor for a single offering. You could simply have a little cup or bowl, much like this one. Pour a shot or two's worth in it, and that could be plenty enough for an offering. You don't have to buy a whole bushel of apples to give as an offering. You could just give one apple. And since it is not necessary, in my belief, to give offerings consistently, I don't incorporate them into my daily practice. I don't even incorporate them into a regular thing within my practice. I give offerings when I feel the need, when I need to connect with the gods or the spirits. Now, for me, the main thing that I give as offerings is either to burn a candle or to give a little mead. I don't often give food as a offering unless it is at the shrine that I have outdoors, because I don't want to leave food sitting out in my home where it can attract bugs. And when I do leave an offering on my altar, I don't necessarily leave it there for very long. I basically will leave it there until I feel it's had enough time to be accepted by the god, at which point I'll take it outside and dispose of it properly. Now, since alcohol could have a detrimental effect on plant life, I don't pour it directly upon any plants, whether it's grass, trees, or what have you. I'll usually pour it upon a little rock or a dead stump, just so that I can pour it out, but not harm the plant life around me. Whereas for food offerings, if I'm going to leave it out in my home, I'll leave it for a day, maybe two, and then I'll take it outside and leave it outside for the wildlife to claim and take with it. It is different when it comes to my outdoor shrine. For my outdoor shrine, I'll just pour liquid offerings over the top of the altar of the shrine. Food items, I'll just leave piled on top of it. And by the time I come back to that shrine to give another offering or to commune with the spirits, or even to add stones to it to make it bigger, it's usually already been taken away by some animal. I know that there are some pagans out there who aren't necessarily okay with leaving food items out for wildlife. And in some cases, I can agree with that. Certain types of food items you wouldn't want to leave out because it might not be the healthiest thing for an animal to get a hold of. But other things like produce, fruits, or a steak, you could leave outside, and I can pretty much guarantee that some animal will come up and take it after you have left. Now, some personal practices that I have, like I said, is to offer candles or liquid offerings. But beyond that, I try to meditate every once in a while to clear my mind or to try and connect with the spirits. Do I believe that it's necessary to meditate all the time? No. But do I believe it is beneficial? Yes. I try to meditate as often as I can because it helps to relax me, helps me to calm down, and helps put me in a better mindset. Now, some things that I do for my personal practice is reading. I read a lot of books when I can. As of late, I haven't had as much time to read as I would like, but this is a religion with homework. You have to read. You have to explore the lore, read books by other pagans to further your own faith and to learn the bounds of said faith, to find what you believe versus what you do not. If you do not do the homework, how can you pass the class? I have a journal that I write. I write in this journal every once in a while. I'll make notes about things that are important to me. I will write bits of scripts for videos in my journal. Write information that I find is important and want to keep, like writing out what each rune signifies, what it could possibly mean, the symbolism of each of the runes. I might write in my journal what certain crystals mean, how I can use those crystals in my practices in order to further my own spiritual and personal growth. And ultimately, what it comes down to is making sure that while you are on your path, you are continually growing as a person. If you stagnate in your growth, your faith will stagnate as well. And just because one person tells you that one thing is necessary doesn't mean that it is. As I say all the time, there is no one true way. There is only the way that is right for you. That way could be very simplistic or very complicated. You could have elaborate rituals that you perform on your own by yourself in order to connect with the gods or the spirits or even the ancestors. Or you could have very simple, intimate rituals that you do. It's all about what feels right for you. Now, I know that a lot of people like to draw a rune on every day to get a sort of feel for how their day is going, to get a feel for what sort of things they should be focusing on in that day. And personally, I tend to do this most days. I usually do it using the rune pulling algorithm thing that I have set up on our Discord. Sometimes I'll take a rune out of my rune set and use that. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I have no idea what happened. My camera just failed on me for a second. But moving on. Your personal practice may include certain things like crafting items, such as crafting a rune set or carving a bind rune into a block of wood to create a charm to protect your home or your family. Your personal practice could include making a staff that you can use when performing rituals or when hiking through the woods. Now, as I've said, there is no set canon or set way to practice this faith. There is no set core beliefs. Even historically, there was no canonized version of this faith. You could move from one village to the next, and they would have completely different practices from each other. One village may be honoring Freyr mainly, while another one worships mainly Thor. And as I said, it is perfectly all right for that to happen. It is right for them. In today's practice of this faith, I do not believe that it is necessary to have a canonized faith, to have a set core belief system within this faith. It is a religion that you make yourself. You will find your own path as you practice this faith. Just because you do one thing today within your personal practice doesn't mean that you will continue to do that for the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Your personal practices, your daily practices could change as time goes on. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, I want to go ahead and take a moment to allow anybody that is watching to ask any questions that they have in regards to altars or personal practices. And if nobody has an answer, or sorry, I should say, if nobody has a question, we'll move on from there. All right, well, it would appear that nobody has any questions, so we shall move on. When it comes to your altar, like I said before, it doesn't matter what you put on it. It is all about what is right for you versus what anybody tells you you should be putting on your altar. Don't let anybody else dictate to you how to practice your faith. If somebody tries to tell you that you are practicing your faith wrong, they are wrong. Because, like I have said before and will say again, there is no one true way. Now, I did expect that this would be a little bit longer of a conversation than it's turning out to be, as I've pretty much exhausted everything that I had prepared for this live stream. So if anybody has any questions whatsoever, go ahead and ask. And if nobody has a question in the next minute or two, we might go ahead and just wrap up this live stream early this evening. I have no set amount of time that I am trying to reach on these live streams. It is basically just as long as the conversation goes for. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I will try and answer them as best as I can. All right, well, since there is no questions, we'll go ahead and just end this live stream here today. I'm sorry that this live stream only ended up being about 25 minutes long, but it is what it is. Like I said, there is no set amount of time that I am trying to reach on these live streams. It is mainly just about having a conversation and sharing a little bit of information. So, with that, I'll leave you with my parting words. There is no one true way. Skål, everyone.